Greetings, glitter goddesses, and welcome to a surprise show. We're going to be working on a notepad holder, a reusable notepad holder that you can throw in your purse for grocery lists or project planning or whatever you'd like to do. And in previous parts, we have done the shell, the chipboard, the Tyvek. It's a chipboard and Tyvek shell. So that's the outer cover, and now we're going to work on the liner for a bit here. And then we'll put everything all together. Just cleaning my hands because I've been using a lot of glue. I want to make sure I'm not too gluey. And it's time for some math. I know. All right. So, math. Let's get our little planning notepad out. All right, so we know that it's a 6-inch chipboard cover with an 1/8-inch gutter, then a 1/2-inch spine with an 1/8-inch gutter, and then a 6-inch chipboard cutter. So all cover. So all the way across, it's 12 3/4 inches across. So what we want to do is we need a 12.5-inch spine, which is, you know, that is what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it in 3 pieces. We're going to do this portion of the spine, which will also have our little 1/2-inch square pen holders. And I'll show you how we'll do the pen holder. That's where we'll start. We'll start with this. So we'll do a piece that's, let's do 3 inches across. So 3 inches wide by 8 1/4 inches is what it needs to be. So let's pick a pattern of paper for this. And I just grabbed a pad out of my stash. This is a Heidi Swap Mixed Company, it's called. So we'll use this to do our decorating. And if we use something like this where we can match up the pattern, do I have 2 of those? Because if I have 2 of those, we can match up the pattern and use it. Oh yeah, and it can go all the way across. All right, so I'm going to tear both of them out. And I'm going to leave one of them totally intact, and this one I'm going to cut out the middle. So first I'm going to cut it down to 8 1/4. And I need a 3-inch piece. So I'm going to cut 4.5 inches off either side. And that's going to give me a 3-inch piece. All right, so this is the center, which, as we can now see, the pattern's not exactly centered. So I'm going to center it on my mat, or on my scoreboard, and it's 3 inches, so center is 1/2 inch, 1 1/2 and 1 1/2. Edges at 1 1/2 and 1 1/2. And I'm going to score at 6 1/4. And I want to score on the reverse, actually. So let me flip it over. I'm going to score at 6 1/4 and 5 3/4 and 6 3/8 and 5 5/8. All right, so Then I'm going to fold along those score lines and burnish. And now we're going to mark this for our pen holders. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark an inch down from the top and the bottom, an inch in, and 2.5 inches in. So I'm going to come in 1 inch, and I'm going to use pen, and 2.5 inches. And then I'm going to turn it around and do the same thing, 1 inch and 2.5 inches. So it's going to have 2 pen holders, one at the top and one at the bottom. That way, whichever way you stick your pen in, the pen cap will catch. So if you want to stick it so you can pull it out from the bottom, you can, or if you want to stick it so it can pop up from the top, you can. All right. And then we're going to make a slit in the pattern paper at that point. Where the score lines are. So I'm gonna just get my craft knife and cut from pen mark to pen mark. Turn it around, line my ruler up again with the score line, and cut from pen mark to pen mark. And oops, I cut the wrong, of course I did. I cut the wrong score line. It's a score line on either side of the 1/2 inch in the middle. It's the score line on either side of the 1/2 inch in the middle that you need to cut, but that's okay. So you'll have that 1/2 inch piece, you'll have these 2 little loops here. All right. And we are going to make our pieces out of Tyvek, our loops, our pen loops. So I'm going to cut this Tyvek. I'm going to cut it at 2 inches because I really need it to be, you know, about 1.5. So I'm going to make as close to 2-inch strip as I can just to get a straight edge. And then I'm going to cut this into not 1.5, I'm going to do 1 3/8, just so it's easy to feed through the slit. All right, and now that we have it like so, we're going to do some scoring. So I'm going to put it in my scoreboard. It's okay that the edges aren't straight. And I'm going to score it at 1, 1.5, 2, and 2.5. And then I'm going to cut it at 3.5. Okay. So I have a piece that's 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. All right. So we're going to do the same thing with this other piece. Now that I have a straight edge, I'm going to cut it to 1 3/8 inch strip and do the same thing. And what we're making here is a pen loop. That we're going to put underneath the liner. I'm going to stick this back on my scoreboard with the straight edge at the top and score at 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, 2.5 inches, and cut it at 3.5 inches. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold along the score lines and burnish. And it's going to create something that looks like this. See? And that's going to be the pen loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed it into the slit on either side. And then we're going to glue it down to the back here. Okay. And that will give us a place to put a pen. See? All right, so that's how that works. So that's pretty easy. But before we stick it in, we're going to want to put a little bit of pattern paper on it to make it look cute. And I'm going to use glossy accents for that. Just because it'll dry more quickly than anything else. All right. So I just need to find a piece of paper that will coordinate well with this in my collection. I'm thinking some of the more solid looking paper will work well for this. So let's see. Maybe this little leopard print. I think this might be the way to go, though. I'm just going to grab this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab not quite 1/2 of an inch, so I'm going to do like 1/16 of an inch shorter than 1/2. So in between 3/8 and 1/2. That's what this is. And we need to cut it to, this is 1 3/8. We'll just cut this to 1/16 of an inch shorter than 1 3/8. So And we need 6 of them total. 1, wait, let me think. 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, yeah. 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and that makes 6. So I'm going to ink the edges of these little guys, and then glue them down. So I'm just going to use, okay, I need a gray ink, I think. So I'm going to use pumice stone. That's what I'm going to use. Hello, TaylorMade Journals. We are making a notepad holder right now. All right, so I'm just going to do 3. And then we'll glue them down so you can see where they're getting glued down and how to attach the little piece. And this is strongly constructed. You might think it's over constructed. But by doing it like this, it's not gonna break or tear or fall apart. By using the liquid glue and the Tyvek, and by making these pockets and reinforcing everything that we can reinforce, we're gonna really make sure that it is something that you can use to hold your journals or notepads, and then just pull the notepads out as they become full and replace them with new notepads, and it will hold 2 notepads. All right, so we have our little piece that looks like this, and we're gonna glue these pieces to the sides. And I'm gonna use glossy accents for this. And because my glossy accents is clogged like a jerk, I'm gonna have to stab it. So I'm gonna ink, or not ink, I'm gonna put glue on the back of this little piece. And this is gonna do 2 things. It's gonna help stiffen up the Tyvek. But it's also going to brighten it up so you don't have that a big black Tyvek loop right there. All right, so I've got that one, and I'm just using that clothespin to hold it while it dries. And then I have this one. I'm going to put it here and use a clothespin to hold it in place while it dries. Then I'm going to take the other one and do the same with its 2 sides. And then we'll go back to the first one. And do the center. And once again, this whole series will stay on YouTube. I'll also put it in the archives just for the convenience of the people who have archives membership. So everything I've ever done live is all in one place. But I'm also going to leave this little series up on YouTube if you want to make some of these as gifts for friends and family around Christmas time. All right, so I'm just going to go back to the first one. And add the center piece. Go to this one, and now glossy accents dries a lot more quickly than perfect paper adhesive, which is what we used on the other part of this. So these don't have to be, you know, clipped for nearly as long as the other one does. So I'm going to go ahead and work with this one right away. And what we're going to do now is we're going to slide it through those slits that we made in the spine cover. All right. So now it's a loop. See? So now all we have to do is just flip this back and cover it with glossy accents and press it into place. And we'll flip this side back. And then press it into place. And hold it with the clothespins. All right. Then we'll do the same thing down here with this other one. All right. And then glossy accents after I fed it through. Same thing with the other side. Flip it over, cover it with glossy accents. And press it into place with the clothespin. Now, I had a blockage in my glossy accents that just broke free. So that's why I got all that extra glossy accents. At the end there. All right, so that's now ready to go in the book as soon as that's had a little bit of time to dry. The pen holder spine cover. So I'm gonna do a recording break and go back to working on the cover, and we'll finish the cover. And what I'll do is when I upload these videos, I'll upload them in the right order so that, you know, we do the entire cover all together. That way when you're watching the playlist, you'll have an easy time finding what you're looking for. All right, so any questions? Well, let me do the recording break and then I'll be right back.